Back in 2006, after losing an appeal, Jack Womes wrote to the BBC News website vowing to fight on to prove his innocence. Writing from Whitemoor Prison in Cambridgeshire, Womes said, "I never done it. I know I never got a fair trial." In February, Jack Womes and co-defendant Michael Steele lost their appeals against the convictions for the murders of drug dealers Tony Tucker, Pat Tate and Craig Rolfe, but both men have always protested their innocence. During a 5-day hearing, the Court of Appeal heard how Supergrass Darren Nichols, whose testimony was critical to the conviction, had been negotiating deals with publishers and TV companies while he was on police custody. Nichols was promised tens of thousands of pounds for his story, that he was supposedly Steele and Womes' getaway driver. The deals would have clearly only came to fruition if the pair were convicted. But the Court of Appeal judges felt this information would have not affected the verdict of the murder trial jury because negotiations apparently only began after Nichols had given his first statement to the police. Womes and Steele's campaigners said the Court of Appeal judges have acted as a second jury by second-guessing whether a jury would have convicted them had they have known all the facts, which are now all available. In his letter, Womes said, "I was only asking the Court of Appeal to apply logic and justice, but this was too much to ask. Now, the British justice system has let my family down twice." He wrote, "Having fought to get justice for 9 years and 10 months does naturally, in some respects, make even someone like me selfish just for my own freedom, because it is freedom which will take away the sheer torment of being separated from my friends and family." Womes said he had changed out of all recognition since the day he was arrested by police back in May 1996. He wrote, "Being fitted up for such a crime as a murder, a triple gangland one at that, can and did give me tunnel vision at the beginning and a degree of selfishness without looking at the impact of my own case on the justice system. It wasn't until I taught myself to read and write enough to read the appeal judgments that it became apparent to me the true significance of my case, that there had never been a case like it before." Womes and his campaigners claim the ramifications of overturning the convictions are just too much for the legal establishment. The case has deep implications for the handling of supergrasses and the relationship between the police and the media. Steele's solicitor Chris Bowens told the BBC News site, "I am actively assisting Mr Steele in his applications to the CCRC and to the European Court of Human Rights. Mr Steele's determination to prove his innocence and overturn his conviction is undiminished and as great as ever." Also speaking to the Ipswich Evening Star back in 2006 as well, Jack Womes did say, "The trial was not given all the evidence. How can I say it was the jury that have done this to me? Had they known Darren Nichols had got media contacts, I'm convinced they would have said, 'Let's have a look at this man.'" Many people will find it hard to understand why Womes did never admit to the murders, and still there are some people out there that believe he did. However, he is adamant that it didn't happen and it will never happen. It would be crazy for me to do that, and I'll not go down that avenue. I'll not do that to my family just to make my life better. It would be ridiculous. It would make the police association with Nichols justifiable. I didn't do the crime. I did not murder these men. I am angry what Darren Nichols has done. He's got to live with what he's done, and he knows what he did. I've got to move on with my life. Womes believes that too much was read into his and Steele's decision not to answer any questions during police interviews after arrest. He cited the importance to the trial jury that was placed upon the pair's failure to respond to investigators' questions as a prime example of this. However, Womes stressed he and Steele were acting on the advice from their solicitors, as the pair had already been arrested on drugs charges along with 2 Essex police officers. "I feel the judgment by the appeal court was just outrageous. The judgment was 14,600 words and they used 72 words to put it over to the trial defence. Yet I had a 4.5-month trial. I believe it's disgusting and unbalanced. We found evidence of police connivance with Darren Nichols. It's farcical. When it comes to the case, I believe it was very damaging to the system. But we have to correct this to make our system better. I am very bitter about the way the judiciary has approached it. They relied on Darren Nicholls' evidence. I am very bitter towards certain elements in Essex Police, but not to other forces up and down the country. They do an excellent and much needed job throughout society. This shouldn't happen to anybody. This shouldn't have happened to me. I have tried the best I can while I'm in here. If I was to be sitting here bitter and twisted, they would have won. Worm says education and the desire to build a life on the outside has been his saviours in prison. I have concentrated every day on my education and my determination to make mine and my family's life better when I get out, so I know I can try to make it up to them. It is at the forefront of my mind to make my family's life better. I think I have changed. I've got a life in here, and it's a life I have to live with. I don't have to go along with the flow in here. I'm classed as a bit of an oddball because my passion is making things and engineering. Life in this place is pretty bad, but I grin and bear it because I know that when I get out, it's going to be much better. Even though it's changed in 10 years, I've got my family to go back and a life to make. Wyman said that he went to the Wheatsheaf public house near Rettendon on the night Tate, Tucker and Rolfe were killed to help Darren Nicholls as he had a problem with his Volkswagen Passat. Worms denies Nicholls' evidence that he drove Worms and Steele to Workhouse Lane where the murders took place. Worms also claims his case is backed up by the tracking of his mobile phone records, which cast doubt on his conviction. Nicholls and Worms met at Hollinsey Bay Prison, where Worms had been sent after being convicted in a deception case. Worms said that irony is not lost on him, as he also met Steele and Tate whilst they were in open prison. He said, "If I had not been sent to Hollinsey, all this would have not happened." Although Worms is adamant there is no reason for him to feel remorse as he did not carry out the gangland hit, he says he does feel sympathy for the relatives of Tate, Tucker and Rolfe. I feel terrible for their families. I'd only met Pat Tate. In my opinion, he was a lovely fella, happy, jovial and a joker. I have nothing against Pat Tate whatsoever. I didn't know Tony Tucker or Craig Rolfe, but I feel for their families. Worms believes that one day he will be cleared and be free to tell the world his full story. It's going to be lovely and an emotional roller coaster. When it comes, I look forward to having my say. It will come out, perhaps earlier through the Criminal Cases Review Commission or later at the European Court of Human Rights, but I know I will get my say. I will never give up, and nor will my family until we get justice. I'd like to thank my legal team, but first and foremost, my friends and family. I have never asked the media for any money at all. I'm fighting for an injustice to be corrected and to stop something like it happening again. At the time of recording this, Jack Worms was released from prison in 2021 and is still awaiting a decision from the CCRC, who are reviewing their convictions.